All right, let's get started. Good morning, Clayton County. Thank you for signing on to the MARTA Clayton County Transit Expansions Project Virtual Public Meeting number 1. My name is Content Terry, and I'll be serving as your moderator this morning. Next slide. So what you can expect from this meeting today. We will introduce you to a few subject matter experts on all of the initiatives that MARTA is pursuing in Clayton County. They consist of State Route 54, the Operations and Maintenance Facility, the Government Center expansion, just to name a few. Following that overview, we will proceed with a Q&A session, which I'll explain in a moment, and then allow you an opportunity to learn ways in which you can give us feedback on all of the information that was presented today. Next slide. So a few housekeeping items. I've seen, since we've signed on, a few members raising their hand to be acknowledged. We are in the Zoom webinar feature, which only allows our participants to participate using the Q&A feature that's at the bottom of your screen. So if you move your mouse and you go to the bottom of your screen, you will see Q&A. You can drop in your questions in that session. Once we are able to go through the presentation and enter the Q&A portion of the presentation, we will then uplift your questions where the subject matter experts will answer them. Also, all of our participants are muted except for our panelists, who are the presenters and the subject matter experts that will be answering questions. So audience, you have no audio, but you have access to the Q&A feature that we'd like you to use. All right, let's get started. First of all, I'd like to ask a couple of demographic questions so we can see who all is on the call. So can we launch the first poll, please? First question, how did you hear about the public meeting this morning? Email, text message, social media, word of mouth, a community calendar or newsletter, or did you see any of the signage at either the airport, College Park, East Point, or Government Center locations? Fantastic. So we received 100% participation on this poll question. So it looks as if email was the way in which you were informed. Thanks for participating. Let's go ahead and launch the second poll question, please. How frequently do you ride MARTA? Never, every couple of months, weekly, once or twice a week, or daily? Good job. Thank you for participating. So we have a variety of different MARTA users. Every couple of months is the most popular, and daily and never MARTA riders are almost neck and neck. And then finally, we'll ask this last question and then get on with our presentation. How are you affiliated or associated with Clayton County community? You live in Clayton County, you work in Clayton County, you own a business in Clayton County, you're a student or a nonprofit group, and if you scroll down, I believe there are a couple of more options. Affiliated with a religious group, you're retired, you're an elected official, or work for county government or municipal government or other. For those others, if you don't mind, can you drop in how you're affiliated in the Q&A so we can see? Just type in how you're affiliated with Clayton County for those of, because there are quite a few others. Thank you so much for participating. All right, so most live in Clayton County, and then there's others. I hope our consultant team isn't doing this poll. But again, if you can drop in a Q&A how you are affiliated with Clayton County, we'd be most appreciative if you chose other. I see we have some government and elected officials in the room. If you raise your hand, we can see it, and then I'll try and uplift and acknowledge you. All right, we have LaShawn Gardner, Amber Davis, Edie Robertson, Savon Irons have raised their hand. Okay, all right, with that, I, again, thank you for participating in our poll exercise. So now on to the exciting information about the expansion program. At this time, I'd like to introduce MARTA Project Manager, Tracy Roberson, to lead us in this portion of the presentation.
Thank you so much, Content. I appreciate the introduction, and welcome again, all of you amazing citizens and MARTA riders. We appreciate you being here with us today. I'm excited to have the chance to just share what we are doing in Clayton County. It certainly has been a journey, and I feel honored that I have been a part of the Clayton County expansion program since its inception, which was in 2014. So today, just a quick little summary of some of our major projects that are coming up in Clayton County. Most of you are familiar with the Justice Center Transit Hub. You are aware that we have completed phase 1 and continuing to build out the transit hub at the center. We have the Southlake BRT that's coming up on the western side of the county. You're going to hear more about that in the presentation. We have the multi-purpose operations and maintenance facility, which will be coming up in the next couple of years in the old Kmart Center. And the real reason we are here today is to talk about the expansion on State Route 54, which is also another high capacity option, bus rapid transit. So since I have been a part of the transit program in Clayton, I guess I'm designated to give a little bit of history today. Most of you on the call may be very familiar, but some may not. So I am going to share with you a little bit of the background and how we got to where we are today. Next slide. So as you know, in 2014 is the year the referendum was approved. And it was certainly some exciting times for MARTA, to say the least. I'm going to save you from all of my anecdotal stories from that time period, but I will just say that once the vote was approved, MARTA did a lot of, I would say, extra drive to make sure the bus service was instituted in the county in a record time. And when I say it was record time, it was truly record time. And at that time of the referendum, not only did we approve for bus service to come, but for more high capacity options to come to the county, as well as the operations and maintenance facility. And we have done a tremendous amount of stakeholder and public engagement throughout the years. And it's always so exciting to see so many of you who were there early on still with us today and continuing to support the projects in Clayton County. So as we begin our analysis, 2 options were designated for Clayton County for high capacity. As you saw on the screen before, Southlake has a high capacity, which is a BRT, bus rapid transit, coming, as well as State Route 54. Now, the State Route 54 bus rapid transit was just adopted by the MARTA board in December of 2022. So now we have began our journey, began our analysis, and we need your feedback on State Route 54 today. Next slide. Just a little bit about some of the other projects. You heard me mention the Justice Center. And for those who have not had the opportunity to see the transit hub at the Justice Center, the whole purpose of this is to just create a better riding experience for you. And that means we're improving the lightings, bigger shelters, upgrading the seating, real-time information so that you'll know what time your buses are arriving without having to click on an app. Everything will be right there for you. So the amenities are really there to improve your riding experience. And the transit hub will also connect you with the upcoming BRT for State Route 54. Now, the other project I want to share a little bit about is the operations and maintenance facility, which we are well underway for the operations and maintenance facility. Next slide. We're currently at 30% design for the operations and maintenance facility. Now, we consider this a multi-purpose operation and maintenance facility because, of course, we will maintain our buses there, but we will also have additional operations, which the one most important operation is having the police precinct there. It is the MARTA precinct. And when we made the agreement to have the maintenance facility, Clayton County was very clear that we needed to have police presence in Clayton County. And therefore, the operations and maintenance facility and the police precinct will coexist. There will be a wellness center there and plenty of rooms for administrative and training purposes. So we consider that a multi-purpose operations and maintenance facility. And the greatest thing about having the facility there is that it will increase economic development and improve job access for Clayton County. A lot of jobs will come when this operations and maintenance facility is built. Construction should be starting within the next 2 years. So we are definitely excited about that project as well. Now, I am going to ask that Olin Delhausen, which is a project manager, to share with you a little bit more about the Southlake BRT project. And then we will continue on and we will make sure you are well aware of the State Route 54 BRT project, which is the project that we are highlighting here today. But we wanted to give you an opportunity to learn more about the entire program, since we are moving multiple capital projects in Clayton County simultaneously. So with that, I am going to move it over to Olin. Olin, you can take it over.
Thanks, Tracy. Next slide, please. So as Tracy mentioned, I'm the project manager for the Southlake Bus Rapid Transit. The proposed route extends from the College Park MARTA station to the Southlake Mall. It goes through, on the way there, it goes through the city of Riverdale, connecting that city with the MARTA rail, and also passes the Southern Regional Medical Center, so picking up a big hospital. So this route will utilize transit signal prioritization and has fewer stops than the existing regular bus service. So what that means is when the vehicle is approaching a light, the light's able to hold a green or move to green to let the transit vehicle through to speed up the service. It won't be stuck waiting in traffic. And it connects the residential areas throughout Clayton County with several key destinations, including the shops at Riverdale, the hospital, and the Southlake Mall. So we've been working hard on this over the last several years. We're currently at 15% design and progressing to 30% design, and 30% design is an important milestone for the project because that's when we're really starting to see it become real, and then we're able to bid it out to design firms and to get it to 100% final design. And the other big news under project status is we're currently preparing to apply to the capital investment grant process, which we'll be applying this August. And so that's where we'll be asking the federal government for matching funds for this project to help us get it over the finish line and get it built. So I'm very excited. It's been a lot of work on the project team's part to get the design progressed to the point we're at, and also to prepare to the grant application. Next slide, please. So next slide, please. I'm also very excited that I'm introducing MARTA Rapid on this call. So MARTA Rapid is the new branding for all the high capacity services that MARTA is going to be rolling out. So we'll be referring to them as Rapid. And on the next slide, please, I'll tell you what MARTA Rapid is. So it's a high quality transit system that delivers fast and efficient service with the following characteristics. So it's essentially, it's rail on rubber tires. So we'll have 10 to 15 minute peak frequencies. So a vehicle will be arriving at stations every 10 to 15 minutes during the peak periods, very similar to the existing rail system. Station amenities will be at a much higher level than just a regular bus stop. And I have some more detail on those later. We'll also have dedicated operating lanes, and that's a key factor in delivering that rail-like experience. Wherever there's transit congestion, MARTA will build a separate operating lane for the vehicles so we can bypass that congestion and keep the vehicles moving and folks on time. I covered transit signal priority. That's also a piece of the puzzle that helps the vehicles move faster along the corridors. And MARTA Rapid is the unique transit line and vehicle branding that will be applying to all the rapid routes. Next slide, please. So in addition to Clayton County, we do have several additional MARTA Rapid future lines. So Summerhill will be the first one. There was a groundbreaking ceremony last Thursday for that. Southlake will be coming right behind it. Then SR-54. Also, we'll have Campbellton in the city of Atlanta and a couple of other projects, the Clifton Corridor and Georgia 400 Rapids, which are a little bit further out. So as part of the branding, each MARTA Rapid line will be denoted by color. So it'll be very similar to the rail system in that regard. So folks can understand that the Rapid line is an enhanced service. It'll get you where you're going faster, and it's a fixed route. So it's always going to the same places. Next slide, please. So MARTA Rapid is very important to Clayton County for a lot of reasons. I think the most important is it provides a high capacity service that's frequent and integrates with the rail network to get folks where they need to go, both in Clayton County and throughout the Atlanta region. One key aspect is that it can be built faster than rail, and we have more flexible route options. So as Clayton County grows over time or things change, we're able to reallocate vehicles and move them to serve new things that we might not have anticipated early on in the process. I mentioned earlier that it's a fixed route with fixed stations, so it can lead to economic and workforce development, leading to upward mobility. And what that means is because it's a fixed station, it gives developers opportunity to build around those stations. They know the station's going to be there. They know the line's going to be there because MARTA made a big investment in the dedicated corridor. It improves quality of life by reducing transportation costs and avoiding traffic congestion. And that's where the dedicated lanes come into play. We can get the vehicles around traffic congestion. And it also provides an opportunity to improve surrounding infrastructure. As MARTA builds the dedicated lanes and the stations, there's an opportunity to improve pedestrian access, as well as make additional improvements like stormwater drainage and anything else in the vicinity of the stations. Next slide, please. So I mentioned earlier that the rapid stations included amenities beyond the standard bus shelters. So these amenities are intended to provide a more rail-like experience, increase rider comfort, and help people get on the vehicles more quickly. So you're not spending time stopped at a station. Folks can get on, get going. So we'll have real-time arrival screens at the station. So when folks get to the station, they can look up, they can see when the next vehicle's coming. We have off-board ticket sales and collection. That's a fancy way of saying there will be Breeze vending machines at the station. So people can purchase the fare before they get on the vehicle. So there's no standing in line and waiting while folks dig around in their pockets for change to pay the bus fare. There will be a level boarding platform similar to the existing rail station. So folks can step right onto the vehicle without having to step up or down, and wheelchairs can roll on. And each station will have shelters, benches, trash cans. There will also be bike racks and enhanced pedestrian amenities to make it easier for folks to get to and from the stations. Next slide, please. So don't play this yet, please.
So we're in Indianapolis riding on the Red Line BRT.
So sorry for that technical glitch. I want to take
the leadership from Clayton County. We brought a lot of the elected officials.
We came with a purpose, and that purpose is for us to have a better understanding of how BRT could really look and how it can serve our community. You don't always have to recreate the wheel. And what Indigo has done was created a framework that could easily port into any municipality.
It's not just a bus system, it's electric buses that keeps moving through traffic And I think seeing it is believing it. Economic development, it brings a lot of things that I've seen today that people were telling me that couldn't be done. It's being done here in Indianapolis.
So the one feature that will port exceptionally well into Forest Park is the designated lanes.
It actually flows with traffic, so there's no disruption. The bus keeps moving.
Reading about it is totally different than actually seeing.
So I want to take a second to explain the video we just saw. So in last September, MARTA took a trip to Indianapolis, Indiana with Clayton County elected officials, so county commissioners. We also included folks from the cities, so council members, mayors. We included the Citizen Advisory Board and several other stakeholders in Clayton County. And we went to Indianapolis to see what Rapid could look like because they have implemented a really great system there. And so we'll replay the video in a second because it got cut short. But I want to say the video shows in their own words how folks reacted to the trip to Indianapolis, what they saw, the economic development that happened around the stations, and just how the vehicle can bypass traffic and essentially get a sense for how the system can work and what we can bring to Clayton County.
So we're in Indianapolis riding on the Red Line BRT. We brought the leadership from Clayton County. We brought a lot of the elected officials.
We came with a purpose, and that purpose is for us to have a better understanding of how BRT could really look and how it can serve our community. You don't always have to recreate the wheel. And what Indigo has done was created a framework that can easily port into any municipality.
It's not just a bus system, it's electric buses that keeps moving through traffic. And I think seeing it is believing it. Economic development, it brings a lot of things that I've seen today that people were telling me that couldn't be done. It's being done here in Indianapolis.
So the one feature that will port exceptionally well into Forest Park is the designated lanes.
It actually flows with traffic, so there's no disruption. The bus keeps moving.
Reading about it is totally different than actually seeing it.
The stations that we've seen with Bus Rapid Transit, it's really a transformative stop. It has a different look. It's like riding a light rail train.
It is absolutely a rapid transit system that just happens to be on a bus, but it works as efficiently as a MARTA train would work. Most importantly though, we have learned that it does indeed spur economic development and revitalization to communities.
This particular node, which is a historic district, a lot of downtown shops, and to see how the transit system interfaces and helps with the infrastructure out here. And the only thing you have to do is get on the bus and get off the bus.
Behind me I have a fresh line and I have a mixed-use community right here on the bus line. These are the type of things that we're looking for so we can be innovative and move Clayton County forward.
It has given us an opportunity to see firsthand the type of development that grows around transit. This is exactly the type of development we want to see in Clayton County.
We're standing out front of Goodwill. They've partnered up with a private sector manufacturing company. They said they would not be here if it was not for BRT, and especially from a Chamber of Commerce standpoint, how it helps to recruit companies to the area. New hospital, new grocery stores for these residents in a blighted community that likely have not seen this type of growth in years.
Before coming, I was a little apprehensive about the whole idea of BRT and not rail. But since being here, I have found out the way to go now is BRT.
Looking at their BRT and their rapid bus transit system has just really inspired me to bring this back to you, Clayton County.
We've learned a lot about policy, about operations, about cost, about planning. I think this was beneficial to all.
This BRT system looks like it's going to be a great fit for Clayton County.
We are going to do this in Clayton County with the help of MARTA and every elected official and our citizens.
So thanks for bearing with us over our technical glitches. I think the video gives a very powerful message about what BRT can be. So with that, I will turn it over to Stephanie Robertson, who is the project manager for the SR-54 Rapid.
Thanks, Olin. Good morning, everyone. Next slide. So I'm going to give everyone a quick update about the SR-54 Rapid project. Right now, we are still in it's not even conceptual design yet. I'm just going to call it idea design. And essentially what we are doing is, since MARTA in December of 2022, like Tracy said, decided on BRT as a way to go for Clayton County, MARTA charged our consultant team with not only providing bus rapid transit, but providing the best rapid transit for Clayton County. And in order to do that, it's a very, unfortunately, long and iterative process, making sure that we connect the community in the way that's best for it. So the overall project corridor is approximately 22 miles. It goes from the East Point MARTA station down to Lovejoy. Originally was pretty much along the existing rail corridor, but now we have a little bit more leeway as BRT to identify some additional areas that I'll share in a moment. What we want to do with the SR-54 project is connect East Point MARTA Station, Fort Gillem, Clayton State University, Southlake Mall, downtown Forest Park, and downtown Jonesboro. Those places where a lot of people in Clayton County, in this part of Clayton County, want to go. Next slide. So the team evaluated different alignment options, if you will. And again, these are just ideas and concepts, nothing concrete, but we took that 22-mile alignment and divided it into 6 sections. And those 6 sections were logical connection points within that overall corridor that we could look at options, if you will, to try again to find the best way to route this corridor or this alignment. So the purpose of what we were doing was to identify potential BRT alignments and to find the most effective service for riders along the SR-54 corridor, and also, most importantly, to best stimulate economic development within this corridor in Clayton County. Next slide. So what we did is, again, divide into 6 corridors. The first corridor was leaving East Point Station. Originally, we were looking at going down Central Avenue. Central Avenue is a 2-lane highway through an industrial area. And we wanted to try to pick up more ridership, more residential development. So we also looked at RN Martin and also Willingham Drive to try to pick up more potential ridership. Next slide. Section 2 was North Interloop Road. This is a roadway that, as you all know, takes you around the airport. There isn't really a better roadway, to be quite honest, so that's why there's one option here. But this was the best way that we found to pick up a lot of airport economic activity. Next slide. Section 3 takes you into the international terminal of the airport. You'll see 2 brown lines. The one brown line represents the existing roadway. The lighter brown line is the future roadway that's currently under construction and development and construction. But MARTA did want to find a way to get us into the international airport. So that's using existing roadways. Next slide. The next section, again, there's really only one way to get from the airport down to Southlake Mall. So that's Jonesboro Road, existing SR-54. You'll see the bump out area. That is Clayton State. So MARTA is looking at and working with Clayton State and potential ways to access the campus. So there's potential that we could either continue and have a stop on SR-54 or even go into the non-gated part of campus along existing roadways and serve the university there. Next slide, please. This is where we kind of have a little bit of choose your own adventure options. Was just a good way to get from Southlake Mall, Mount Zion Road, down to Jonesboro. Again, one of MARTA's missions was to request the consultant group to make sure that the BRT did service downtown Jonesboro. So we have 2 ways on the north-south, either, again, continuing on SR-54 or moving over to Terra Boulevard and going down that way. So the 3 east-west connections we identified was Mount Zion Road, SR-138, and Smith Street. Next slide. And then the last segment is continuing down from Jonesboro, past the Justice Center, and then continuing down Terra Boulevard to Jonesboro. Next slide, please. So what the team did was we developed a lot of evaluation criteria that took into account existing conditions and land use, as you can see in blue, demographics, which you can see in yellow, and orange was environmental considerations. And you can see there's a little bit of overlap there, population over 65 versus population served. So we did take into account a lot of different things. Every corridor for BRT that MARTA has is a little bit different. So we wanted to make sure that the criteria that we identified was relevant for this part of Clayton County, and also, serve the purpose and need of MARTA's mission, which is to advocate for safe multimodal transit services that advance prosperity, connectivity, and equity for a more livable region. So we worked these criteria out in conjunction with MARTA, and once those were agreed upon, we went and analyzed all those options and ideas that you just saw. And next slide, please. We came up with a conceptual, again, alignment that was essentially, after putting all those evaluation criteria through a filter, this is the alignment that conceptually was the best alignment to serve as the SR-54 BRT corridor. So part of what we're asking you today is you can go and take a look at this presentation afterward, and we would love for you to provide comment back to MARTA, and Content will tell you how to do that in just a moment. But what we're looking for right now is to receive public comment on these concepts and ideas. Tell us, is there anything we missed? Or are there any economic areas or business areas or industrial areas that you don't see, that we missed on this map and you don't see? Are there any residential areas? Looking at those idea corridors, is there something that we missed? Because, we're not perfect. You all know the area much better. So that's really what we're here asking you for, is to look at our ideas and to make our ideas better. So we want to consider your public comment, revise the proposed alignment if we need to, based on public comment. After that, stations will be identified along the corridor. And then those stations and the overall alignment will again be presented back to the public for your feedback and input. Once everything pretty much is buttoned up, that recommended proposed alignment and stations will go to MARTA leadership for their consideration. And then from there, the proposed alignment and stations will go to the MARTA board. Next slide, please. So a quick timeline. Again, in 2022, the BRT mode choice was made. We are currently in the alignment evaluation. And after that, and the MARTA board makes their decision, the alignment will go under environmental analysis, which is required by federal law to receive federal money from the FTA, and then engineering and final design, and that takes you to the 30%. And then through final design, when final design is complete, that's when you actually hit construction, which everyone wants. And then we're looking at 2030 to begin operations. And I will turn it back over to Content. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie, for that. So now we're entering into the Q&A portion of the presentation, and I will start that by answering a few questions that are in regards to how this presentation will be made available moving forward. So we have a project website, which is called connectclayton.com. connectclayton.com. After tonight's meeting, it will be updated to include links to this presentation, as well as a link to a survey that you can complete to give your feedback on the State Route 54 alignment segments that Stephanie presented. So you will receive a follow-up email, which will include both those links so that you can easily be able to access it. But again, going to connectclayton.com will give you access to the virtual presentation as well as the link to the survey regarding the alignments, and answer any questions that you may have as it relates to MARTA's expansion plans throughout Clayton County. All of that information is on the website. So I'd like Stephanie to come back and address a couple of questions in regards to the alignment that is in consideration. So there are a couple of questions in regards to how the BRT or MARTA Rapid will access the airport, Fort Gillum, and the city of Forest Park. So question one, will the BRT serve the airport, which it will? If you can give a little more detail of how the BRT is proposed to access the airport, then follow up on responding to how it will serve Fort Gillum, and then finally how it will service the city of Forest Park. Thanks, Stephanie.
Sure, thanks, Content. For the SR-54 project, MARTA did request that we do try to make a connection to the airport, and the easiest way would be to connect to the east side of the airport through the international terminal. So using existing roadways, that is how we are going to link into the airport. The buses that would be the BRT size buses are able to kind of transverse that round loop within the airport. So that I can speak to for the SR-54. For the Southlake project, I will turn it over to Olin in regards to getting to the airport.
Thanks, Stephanie. And there were a couple related questions around Southlake and the airport and stations. So to start off with, we did look at a couple different stations when we were in the initial planning and public outreach phase of Southlake Rapid. College Park just kind of settled out as the best station to come into, and there were a couple advantages to it. We were not able to get permission for direct access to the airport from the airport. So College Park was the closest station. So with the existing setup, folks will be able to ride the Rapid into College Park and then grab the next train southbound to the airport. And so recognizing that isn't ideal and that conditions changed, MARTA kept open a dialogue with the airport. And so over time, we gained some friends at the airport. And so currently, MARTA has an engineering firm just kicking off a contract to study a connection from the Southlake Rapid into the airport. So a key advantage of that is it will be able to give a direct connection and cut travel time to the airport significantly from Clayton County. But on the flip side, there's a lot going on around the airport transportation wise. And so the potential route would cross over the interstate, which means we have to bring in several more partner agencies, including Federal Highway, Georgia Department of Transportation, and do a little bit more coordination and planning. And also, from the airport side, we would bring in the Federal Aviation Administration, Transportation Security Administration, and of course, the airport and city staff. So that would add some time to our environmental process and delay the project. So MARTA is currently looking at potential for that airport connection. We understand it's a good connection. We really want to make it happen, but we also want to deliver the Southlake Rapid as soon as possible. So more to come on that as the engineering study kicks off and gets underway, and the engineers will be able to give us a good idea of like how much additional cost this will be and exactly what the schedule impacts will be. And I'll send it back to Stephanie to address Fort Gillum.
Yes, thank you, Olin. So we did for the SR-54 project take into consider the Gillum Logistics Center area, which is Forest Parkway and SR-54 at Metcalf Road. So the Fort Gillum area, you know, as everyone knows, is really large, and MARTA's bus network MARTA is redesigning their bus network in addition to the SR-54 project to try to address the Fort Gillum area and provide better service there, and having maybe more local buses and local bus routes to serve the area directly, along with service on Anvil Block Road. So that was some of the things that we were looking at. There is an entrance to Fort Gillum from SR-54 at Forest Park. And then to kind of piggyback on that to the Forest Park question, the SR-54 project serves Forest Park along Old Dixie Highway. And the service runs through the city of Forest Park, and not anticipated at this point to start or end there. So we still have the East Point Station as the beginning of the project.
And then Stephanie, can you expound on the access to Forest Park?
So yeah, so we have we don't have any proposed stops at this time. I would imagine that there would definitely be a stop within Forest Park or a station within Forest Park, but any stations have not been identified at this time. That's the next step in our progress.
Okay, thanks so much. So there's a question in regards to what was presented in the video of the Indy Rapid project, and the fact that the BRT appeared to be traveling in painted or striped lanes as opposed to physical separation lane from regular traffic. So can we have an expert expound on MARTA's plans on if the dedicated lane will be striped or a physical separation with some type of median to ensure that cars and buses are not integrated?
So I'll go ahead and start. I think the first point I want to make is the Southlake Rapid Corridor and the SR-54 Rapid Corridor are both unique, and so our design treatment will address the individual conditions of each corridor. And so saying that, I'd like to send it over to Stephanie. If I think our design person is on the call, but I can't see much from my laptop screen. So Stephanie, can you take over, please?
Yeah, I'm actually going to have our design person, Ben, who can provide, as an engineer, can provide a little bit more than I can on that. Slight technical issue. Hang on a second.
Are we able to give Ben audio?
Mm-hmm.
Are you there, Ben?
Can you hear me now? Yeah, okay, great. Hi, I'm Ben Sanger with the design team. So there's a couple different options with the mixed traffic versus the dedicated lanes. What we have currently have allotted for is that the roadways will be painted red. That will define for all users what the dedicated lanes are for buses only versus regular traffic lanes, depending on the guideway type, whether it's a center running fully dedicated or curbside running fully dedicated or curbside running semi-dedicated. There are options for having physical separation through a 8-inch high curb that will prevent vehicles from entering the bus lane, or it will just be striped, and that emergency vehicles, and if it's on the curbside, vehicles making right turns into private properties along the roadway. So, think making a right turn into a shopping center, there's usually a auxiliary or turn lane that you can then, turn into and then proceed to make the right turn into the development or left turn out. For curbside running BRT, vehicles, regular travel vehicles would be allowed to enter the bus lane in order to make that right turn. So that would be called a semi-dedicated BRT lane. In the median, it would be separated with a curb, and there would be physical separation there. So it would be only buses and emergency vehicles that would enter that lane at each of the signalized intersections. Regular buses could also use the dedicated lanes as well, not just the rapid buses. So that is another benefit to the corridor, that if there is local bus service, they could use that same lane too, as well as emergency vehicles.
Thank you. Thanks, Ben, for that answer.
Oh, Content, you're on mute.
All right, can you hear me? Fantastic. Thanks, Ben. So there are a couple of questions in regards to amenities, and particularly bus shelters. And so I'll take a stab at the initial answer, and then if we have an expert who can provide a little more detail, I appreciate you jumping in. So MARTA has a multi-year program to install shelters throughout the system, particularly in Clayton County. And so, and these shelters are not related to the bus rapid transit, but specific to the existing bus service. Is there an expert on the call that has an update as to where MARTA stands with their current bus shelter installation program?
Yes, Ezekiel, would you like to go ahead and take this?
Okay, I don't have the most up-to-date figures about the about what's been installed up to this moment, but in that 5-year program that that Content mentioned, the goal is 1,000 amenities. So that includes shelters or benches or other amenities at stops that folks can use to shelter or provide relief while they wait for the bus. And those are split up amongst the jurisdictions evenly. So, City of Atlanta, Clayton County, Fulton County, DeKalb County. So every jurisdiction has their allotment, and that program progresses outside of the rapid project and the 2 BRT lines that you're talking about that might be years in the future. This work is continuing as we speak, and every week and every month we're installing more of these amenities throughout the system, including in Clayton County. So that might not be quite as detailed, but more are definitely coming to the county. And I would elaborate a little bit more too on, I know that some other folks mentioned access to places like the southern part of the airport and the Gillum Logistics Center. We are working on other service changes, other service improvements to add service to those areas and to other areas, looking into them outside of these rapid projects. So on much shorter timelines, so not on the 3-5 year timeline that these projects that we're talking about are, but on much shorter timelines. So there are additional potential improvements in the works. So just wanted to make that clear, of more, standard bus routes bringing service. So thank you.
Okay.
Hi, can y'all hear me? I'm sorry, I just wanted to jump in. This is Ian Caro with MARTA. Sorry, my video is not enabled, but just to piggyback on that update, there are 30 total amenities, that's shelters and benches, committed to Clayton County for this year. And that is for each year of the program that Content mentioned. The commitment is 30 amenities for Clayton County. So to date, 100 total amenities have been installed countywide. Of those 30 for this year, there's 12 that have been installed, 6 are under construction, 9 are in permitting, and 3 are in design. So we are making progress towards delivering those 30 for this fiscal year.
Thanks for that update, Ian. Appreciate it.
Yes. We recognize that there are a few additional questions that are in the Q&A tab. I'd like subject matter experts to jump in and type in the answers to those questions. If you could, we are at the top of the hour. We're at 11:01. This was scheduled to be a 1-hour meeting. So we want to be mindful of everyone's time and considerate of your time. So we will answer these questions in the Q&A session. If we're unable to complete answering them, we will make sure that they're uplifted on our project website as well to gain access. If I can get the next slide, please, I can remind people on how you can continue to stay engaged and involved moving forward. So as I mentioned before, we have a project website, connectclayton.com. Please log on after tonight's meeting, which is also a virtual meeting that starts at 9:30. You will be able to access the presentation that was presented today. Also, you will have access to the survey that will ask you to provide your comments and feedback on the State Route 54 alignment segments. So at this time, I would like to once again thank you for participating in today's meeting. Please spread the word about this evening's meeting if you found this information helpful and informative. Share it with your friends, colleagues, neighbors, and your whole entire network. And we've enjoyed participating with you throughout this significant process, and look forward to continuing the engagement efforts as the project continues along its track for implementation. So thank you so much for this opportunity. And before closing out, we want to give you an idea of how MARTA is currently seeking input from the community and providing them opportunities to get involved and work at MARTA. So on the screen are a few dates for job fairs that MARTA will be participating in and hosting that you can share again with your network or attend yourselves if you're interested in working at MARTA in the immediate future. Is there one more slide? Okay. All right then. Well, thank you again so much for tuning in to today's presentation. Again, there's another opportunity for the same information to be shared to the Clayton County community this evening, virtually via Zoom at 6:30. You can access the link by going to connectclayton.com. Please spread the information and the word about how to stay engaged on MARTA projects in Clayton County. And again, thank you so much for participating.